Well, how do that, chums? As I, Captain Stephen, today, chums, for you guys in the viewerverse, I'm just going to go over some of the things inside of No Man's Sky that kind of makes this feel as shallow as a puddle, but as wide as an ocean. Yeah, so starting off in the Nexus, this is a prime example of what I mean. You can apply this across the whole of No Man's Sky to some extent. So here you go, I'm going to go and speak to Ariadne. Now look how well crafted Ariadne as a model is. Beautiful model, yet you speak to Ariadne, you get one line and then leave. Come back and speak to her another day. But yes, that seems to be a running concurrent theme throughout of the actual Nexus. There's a lot of NPCs here that do very little. I'll go around a few more in a moment, chums. Yeah, they don't do much. They don't do much at all. So yeah, these NPCs have been in the game for a heck of a long period of time, and do they do anything? Anything of aught? No, they don't. They haven't actually brought anything into the iteration in way of variation or things to do or exploration, nothing at all. Now, if you head on over to this chap, this is Kronos over here, and you can hand in culinary treats to Kronos one at a time, which is kind of like mind-numbingly crazy, since you can have like batches of 50 with great ease, or hundreds even, and it means he's going to be standing here for about 15-20 minutes just handing them in one at a time. It's mental. It's beyond stupidity. It's craziness. Now, inside of this egg machine, you've got what's called gene splitting. So you should be able to sort of change the looks of your creature. However, whenever you mutate the creatures using gene splitting, you're lucky if you get maybe 2 to 3 different variants of said creature. Now, the new sandworm pets, you only get only one variant of creature. You can't even tint the coloration. It's a bit freaking mental. Now, there are lots of kiosks up here where the actual vendors do something, but what they do isn't anything outside of what vendors might do inside of stations or inside of the Great Archives or the Colossal Archives. Yeah, they don't give anything. They don't really bring anything to the actual verse that you can't get elsewhere. I mean, yes, you can transmit milestones, but you can do that with, Nada in the Nexus, and you could since day one, so it's nothing new, really. No new real modules or anything going on there. There's a completely empty kiosk next to this one, yeah. No real point in the actual vendors here, either. So, yeah, like I was saying, there's an empty one here. Look, 2 arrows pointing down here. It's almost like there should be 2 more vendors there doing something, but no, they haven't actually appeared. And this has been empty for freaking God knows how long. Yeah, and even old good old Tree Face over here. You talk to him, and all you do is turn in more milestones. But again, like I was saying, you can turn in milestones to nada. You don't have to speak to these guys. So they're just doing repetitive stuff. They don't actually bring anything to the verse, apart from just shows off what some of maybe the artists have made at Hello Games and the way of new visages, which you can actually equip to yourself inside of the appearance modifier. So it all feels a little bit redundant, slightly shallow and hollow, and that's what I'm getting to, chums. Although all this stuff looks nice from the outset, it hasn't really got much depth to it, and that's where I'm going with this whole video. Now, I have already put together lots of videos on how all this sort of stuff can be improved, and I've sent it over to Hello Games via a Zendesk, and I've got a playlist of all my favourite ideas, and ideas that I feel can improve some of this stuff. It's like Mercury. He's standing right in front of a portal. It wouldn't be nice if he gave you missions, per se, to actually go and investigate some planets, and he throws up a portal code for you to input or something, or even activates or gives you a choice of places to go to in the verse to investigate something. But no, he just stands there and he just gives you the same line. You give him a nice courteous nod, and that's pretty much all you do with good old Mercury. So something new that's been added. Now this is the Frontiers sort of update that brought this into iteration, heck yes. Now we get these sort of like procedurally generated settlements that we can be the overseer of. Now, they look fantastic. The procedural generation is freaking great. Awesome work, Hello Games. But what I would say is there's only maybe 2 or 3 structures that are actually of any use or interest. The Overseer's office being a given, being the main one, to be fair, because it's got the interaction terminal. But then you've got these marketplaces where you've got a vendor. Guess what the vendor sells? Exactly the same sort of stuff that you're going to find at Colossal Archives, stations, and pretty much everywhere else of aught, and like minor settlements and things. So, do they actually bring anything to the verse? No, but they do bring it to your settlement, so it saves travelling around a bit. But this is a game that sort of is supposed to promote exploration and travelling. So, yeah, a little bit odd, but then you've also got these sort of saloons, these bars, where you can go in and you can find some of the NPCs jiving and dancing to some pretty darn freaking funky music. Which, yes, I might partake in every now and again, just for a little giggle. But yeah, other than that, the actual buildings that you get at your settlements have no sort of rhyme or reason or life to them, or any sort of depth. to be fair. They're just so sort of barren and empty and sort of vacuous. It makes you think, well, why am I running this sort of town? If the only sort of output I get, I've got no control over either. So your settlement's going to give you two items. The two items I get from my settlement is some solvent, and I also get myself some nitrogen, but yes, I can gain those in other sorts of ways or means, but it'd be nice if they actually gave you commodities based on the actual sort of trade system that you've got your settlement in. So if it's a mining settlement, maybe it gives you precious stones or something, or minerals. You can see here my actual settlement is a S-class, but you can see there that my sentinel alert level is 100%. I bet you I do battle with the sentinels, and my actual town is going to jump from being an S-class to a B-class. Even though I dispatch the sentinels relatively quickly, and you can't see that they're doing any sort of damage to that center path or whatever it is. There's no energy bar, there's no sort of time limit to say how long you've got to actually get rid of these sentinels, but here you go, I'm just going to blow them to Kingdom Come as quick as I can. Boom! You're all freaking dead. Take that, sentinels. Lovely jubbly. Yeah, I couldn't do this any quicker even if I tried. Well, I probably could do it marginally quicker, but this is pretty good when it comes to dispatching the sentinels. There you go. They're all done. Now, you would think that my settlement wouldn't have gone down a level. You know, I got rid of those nice and quickly. Sentinels are dead. Heck yes, they are. And now, it doesn't even matter even if I ran away. If I ran away and came back like 2 hours later, and the sentinels all went on their own accord, my actual town would go down to being a B class, whether I've killed them or not. I'm going to head inside of here, and I bet you it's jumped from being an S class to being a B class. As soon as my sentinel level hits about 60-70% again, it go up to being an S class. Now, I don't know whether that's by design or what, but it just seems to be very broken. And it seems to be that things inside of No Man's Sky feel sort of broken in this sort of way, and we just sort of go, oh, okay, well, that's just a feature of No Man's Sky, and we just kind of get used to it. We shrug it off. We don't really report it, or so we just take it as being that's a given. That's how it is. It's freaking mind-blowing stuff. So take, for instance, the ships that you can have in No Man's Sky. I've got this lovely Deadly Master, P-14. Heck yes, I love this ship. It's freaking awesome. But what's actually there for me if I wanted to go for a hauler, or if I wanted to go for a shuttle or an explorer? I mean, I have mainly fighters because there's no sort of difference or perks related to different ships. So for a hauler, you know, they haven't got any perks when it comes to smuggling or anything. We've got these living ships that you can't even stick in an economy scanner or conflict scanner or anything like that. And the weaponry in this is not alien whatsoever. It's just like having a photon cannon. Yeah, so I mainly have the explorer ships. I mean, I've got an exotic there, but does it do anything exotic? No. There's no real ship perks and no ship-related missions. It'd be nice to have, say, missions for, say, shuttles to taxi people about, whereas fighters, you get, like, combat-y type missions. Haulers, you get missions to take things from A to B. The living ships, maybe you get to catalogue, you know, black holes or something. Explorers, perhaps you can scan planets super quick. You can scan planets super quick in any ship now. So, yeah, there's no real difference between ships. When you go to see your frigates, you are greeted by a hologram of the frigate owner, the actual captain of said frigate, but you head inside of the frigate to try and see the crew, or to go and see that captain that you've just had dialogue with, to find it's barren. There's nobody in here. No, there's not. And these doors inside of here are just for show. You'd think that this one would take me to the engine room, to the rear of the ship. So yeah, I could go see the engineering department, go see Georgie LaForge. No, you can't go there. You can go up here to the captain's deck and go see Picard. No, you can't go through there. So it just feels like they're missing a trick there. There's no sort of sense of immersion once you get on board of these actual frigates. Bit of a shame. Bit of a shame, that. Okay, buildings of interest. So yes, we now have the settlements on planets, and yes, we have had minor settlements, abandoned buildings, and all sorts of other quirky things, and they have thrown in these giant, awesome buildings that do give some sort of focal point for interest, and these are very lovely, put-together buildings that have got vendors on, but guess what the vendors sell you? Yes, you've got it, exactly the same stuff that you find at stations, minor settlements, and pretty much everywhere else inside of the verse. So what's the frickin' point? Yes, it'd be nice if they had more variety in things that you could get, and upgrades you could get, and add more sort of RPG elements into game, but like I said, I've done lots of videos on my ideas to actually improve stuff. So, a lot of these ideas that I have, though, chums, are based around what I kind of expected No Man's Sky to be from interviews given by Hello Games to different sorts of outlets and news studios and things. So yeah, again, you got this guy, guild guy. He doesn't really do much here. He doesn't do much up in the station either. Sometimes they give you a gift and I can't understand why and what actually promotes them to give that gift. But anyway, and you also pick up some lore in these places. So yes, the building is quite interesting, but it's not something that I'm going to go running to if I see it in the distance, because there's nothing really to be had from said building. There's nothing strange about it really. After you've seen the 3 different kinds that there are, you've seen them. But here's what Hello Games had to say.
These are real quick sketches, but all trying to kind of get across the vibe that we wanted to have each time you fly down to a new planet. And what this did, it gave us targets. It meant we could tweak things like slider values to try to make these kind of events more likely. And you'll see they all, well, a lot of them have this kind of, these landmarks. And we always wanted to have that sense that you fly down, there's always something on the horizon that draws you to it, rather than just being a dull terrain. There's always something you see that you want to go to.
Yeah, so I don't think there's all too much that actually pulls your attention to the horizon, and a lot of terrain just looks very much sort of overlaid and the same. And it's very rare that you come across something like an actual structure that pulls you to it. I mean, yes, the archives are nice, but here you go. I'm looking at these planets right now. You can see here they've got set biomes. That one's Gamma, that's a paradisey type starbolt planet, so is that one, and so is that one. So we've got 3 lush planets in one system. Heck yeah, it's pretty cool, you would say. But no, they did say originally, Hello Games, that they weren't going to be biomes.
But what we found by creating those sort of biomes, those separate biomes, that human beings are really, really good at spotting patterns. So you'd fly down to a planet and it would be a swamp planet, and you'd go, oh, it's a swamp planet. And instantly that breaks this illusion, and you just realize what's going on behind the scenes. And the thing with video game artwork is so much of what we do is an illusion. Like, you know, especially linear games where you can look out a window and you can see a mountain in the distance, but we all know that, you know, you can't get to that mountain. And as artists work in the industry, everything we do is, you know, where it's all pretend and we don't want anybody to see behind the scenes. And having those separate biomes, it absolutely revealed that. And our game is so, it's incredibly important that you don't get that sense of illusion. So what we ended up doing was creating what I call a super biome, which is a biome which covers all those biomes in one fell swoop. And it's, what's a good way of explaining? If you imagine if you've ever used like a terrain generation tool where you'll have lots of different sliders that control different things like spikiness of mountains, trees, and we have that, but we have hundreds of different sliders, and we have min and max values for all those different sliders, but I don't have to go into every planet and manually move those sliders. What happens is when a planet is terraformed, those sliders are moved to different positions. Now, originally those positions were random, but what we found really interesting is if you start to link those sliders to things within the universe, like distance from a sun, whether the planet has a moon or not, then the results start to become believable, and you start to spot patterns, but it's patterns that you accept because you start to realize that, oh, this planet's really close to the sun, so the foliage is either going to be non-existent or it's just not going to be very green.
Now I think that sounds like a fantastical idea. The removal of biomes and the inclusion of a super biome controlled by sliders governed by distance from sun, moon, etc, etc. And then that might give us these believable type planets that we saw back in the E3 trailer. Now a lot of people say to me, Captain Steve, but that was actually a tech demo. It's not a gameplay trailer. But that's not what it says on the freaking screen, put up by PlayStation and even Hello Games themselves, and images of this, if it is a tech demo, are still inside of the No Man's Sky sort of website and Hello Games' website in promotion of what to find inside of the game. Do we have majestic dinosaurs? Like this one, like this beautiful Diplo, animated beautifully like this. Heck no we don't. The Diplos that we've got look very robotic and junky. Now when you look at this actual rhino smashing through the trees, you'll see the trees all sort of shake, fall, sort of smash, there's dust particles and all sorts of stuff thrown up by the rhino as it tears through the actual undergrowth. Even the giant sandworms that we have now don't destroy the actual environment. Yes, they throw up rocks, but they don't leave a hole in their wake, they don't knock over trees, they don't do anything like that when it comes to destructible environments. Heck no they don't. So there's quite a lot that was teased that isn't actually in iteration right now that I really do hope that they bring into the verse. But mainly the actual inclusion of non-biomed sort of universe would be pretty darn freaking nice. Now when they talk about how the actual creatures are put together, you can see how the procedural generation is put into place, but the actual parts that we've got are not all that varied when it comes to the depth of the catalogue. You're going to see very similar planets and very similar fauna on said planets wherever you go, and it doesn't matter how far you go into the universe or into the system, they're not going to change. Yet Hello Games did have a freaking awesome idea that from the start of where you start on No Man's Sky, you're not going to get much variation when it comes to the actual fauna found, but the closer you get to the actual centre, the stranger things will get. Now what I would say is we've got 250 odd galaxies or systems, whatever you want to call them, universes, that look identical, and you're going to see similar sort of creatures in every single one of those galaxies, so there is no sort of sense of progression. Anyhow, let's hear what Hello Games had to say where it comes to progression through variation.
As you get close to the centre, things become a little bit more unsettling and things start to become unusual. That's how we keep that sense of progression that you want to keep going to the next planet, because for me when I'm playing the game, that's always what I'm doing. I want to get to the next planet just to see what weird thing am I going to see next.
So as you heard there, chums, Hello Games has got some fantastic ideas. I'm just unsure why they haven't made it into iteration. Heck no. Anyway, I'd love to hear your ideas. Please put them in the video comments. But I have also made my own playlist full of all my ideas, and I hope you check that out, because I have given solutions to all of these ideas, or all of these sort of issues. So go watch that playlist of my best ideas that I've got to date. If you're looking for content, heck yes, check it out. Until next time, people, you've been awesome. Goodbye, goodbye, and goodbye again. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please hit a like and a subscribe, and I'd like to say a massive great big thank you to all of my backers over on Patreon and over on YouTube membership. Thanking you, backers! And if you want to support this channel, just don't skip the adverts. That throws revenue down my avenue. Or yeah, just stay with Captain Steve that little bit longer and hit something on this screen. There's merch here now too.